You're watching NewsX. My name is Vineet. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is scheduled to visit the United Arab Emirates on the 13th to 14th February to inaugurate the BAPS Mandir, marking the first Hindu temple in Abu Dhabi. This visit underscores the deepening ties between India and one of its closest strategic partners in West Asia. Prime Minister Modi's frequent visits, including this being his 7th since 2015 and 3rd in the past 8 months, reflecting the strong bond between the leadership of both the nations. During his visit, Prime Minister Modi will engage in bilateral meetings with UAE President to discuss avenues for enhancing the bilateral strategic partnership and exchange views on regional and international issues as well. Additionally, Prime Minister Modi will participate in the World Government Summit 2024 as a guest of honor. The BAPS Hindu Mandir, constructed on land which was donated by the UAE government, stands as a symbol of the growing cultural ties between India and the UAE. With its stone architecture spread over a vast area, it will be the largest Hindu temple in the Gulf region. The presence of other Hindu temples in Dubai further highlight the warm and multifaceted relationship between India and the United Arab Emirates, characterized by strong political, cultural and economic linkages. The question of the hour remains, is this gesture serving as a nod to Hindus worldwide and signifies a significant endorsement of the India-UAE alliance? We'll talk about this with our guest. Joining us on the show is Ambassador Bhaswati Mukherjee, former diplomat, Major General Shashi Asthana, former Additional DG Infantry, Global and Strategic Defence expert, also with us on the program, Asif Ramiz Daudi, International Affairs expert, with us on the program as well. And last but not the least, Professor Madhav Nalapat, Editorial Director of the Sunday Guardian, with us on the program as well. Thank you everyone for being a part of this conversation. Professor Nalapat, I'll begin with you. Since 2015, this is the 8th visit and the 3rd by Prime Minister Modi in just the last 1 year. This is obviously highly significant when it comes to, what existed between the Middle East and India perhaps a couple of decades ago. I've lived in the Middle East for 8 years, and I understand that there was only a one-way traffic which went to the Middle East. Of course, people who wanted to get jobs and work in the Middle East, but now all of that is changing. The trading that happens between the India and UAE partnership is close to $90 billion. Where do you see this relationship going? And is this also a message for a number of other countries that, if two people who perhaps thought that they were bipolar opposites of each other can get along so well, then, it's just a handshake away to be tied up with the country which is perhaps also, not perhaps, actually the fastest growing economy in the world?
Well, I think, Vineet, we are all children of the same Almighty. So I think every one of us are brothers and sisters of each other. And I would like to congratulate His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan of the UAE, because frankly, the UAE has shown how modern it is. We are all in the 21st century. Every single country, including countries that are basically got societal and governmental norms that relate to the 20th or 19th or 18th century or even previous, we are all in the 21st century. And the reason why the UAE is developing so fast is because the UAE has the kind of inclusive culture that is essential to development in the 21st century. And from that point of view, so does India. India also has that inclusive culture. And I think that is going to be exemplified as and when you will see a magnificent mosque that will be erected, in Ayodhya. And I'm sure that there will be several guests invited to that ceremony from across the world. The reality is, India and the UAE, they exemplify the same values, the values of inclusivity, the value and the knowledge that we are all children of the same almighty power. And I think from that point of view, this is an expression of Sanatan Dharma. And Sanatan Dharma is not a dharma bound by what would be called the narrow confines of what we could call a religion. It is a way of life. And it's a way of life of acceptance of other individuals who accept the way of life of all. Who accept the way of life, as I said, of all. Brotherhood and sisterhood among those who believe in the brotherhood and sisterhood of humanity. I would like to say that under Sheikh Zayed, the UAE has shown this brotherhood. The UAE has shown this modernizing spirit. And I think it's very fitting that our Prime Minister has been there multiple times. I mean, there are individuals who keep talking about certain factors and then who keep, attacking this current government for being, in a sense, focused, very wrongly attacking this government for being focused only on certain priorities related to faith. The fact is, those governments that talked entirely of certain faiths, they hardly ever bothered about the Middle East, about the Gulf. Whereas Prime Minister Modi has made the Middle East, the Gulf, a priority, which is very important because Southeast Asia and West Asia are two very important priorities for India. And in Sheikh Zayed, Prime Minister Modi has found a firm friend, a friend of a friendship that goes back a very, very long time. And I think that friendship is shared by the people of the UAE and the people of India, both of whom regularly visit each other.
Absolutely right, sir. Ambassador Mukherjee, what do you make of this proximity? This is not something which is new, but the fact of the matter is, ma'am, that it's been worked upon. It's been made a priority. Avenues and opportunities have been recognized and realized, and they have been acted upon. And, the spirit of both the nations is progressive, regardless of the cultural differences. What really mattered and matters is at this point in time that how do you basically, jump on this bandwagon that takes you to a better future?
I think more than anything else, Vineet, it demonstrates that India's syncretic culture is being increasingly appreciated by our friends and allies in the Middle East. United Arab Emirates has now become one of our principal partners in the UAE, in the Middle East, in the OIC. And the fact that we have been able to build this beautiful and huge temple, which is meant for all faiths to come and see in the true spirit of Sanatan Dharma, as Professor Nalapat said, actually demonstrates that perhaps how ironical that Hinduism and what it stands for is better appreciated in countries like UAE than in United States and Canada and UK, which is very, very ironical. In fact, I fully endorse what Professor Nalapat said, that when the huge mosque in Ayodhya will be built, we will definitely invite our friends from the Middle East to come for the inaugural. And this temple demonstrates the fact that the Indians who have gone and settled in the UAE, they are actually in the process of settling in. They are contributing to the culture, to the development. They bring no chips on their shoulders. They are an asset to any nation, and therefore the fact that our Prime Minister is going there on Tuesday to inaugurate this temple also conveys a huge message to countries like Pakistan, which does not know how to respect minorities and which goes after their increasingly minuscule Hindu population. One is very proud to be an Indian when one sees these kind of gestures coming from countries like the United Arab Emirates. Vineet.
General Asthana, what is your understanding of the situation as it stands today? Ambassador Mukherjee pointed out that Pakistan and other countries, who have been vocally critical of India over internal matters should learn a thing or two from how UAE has behaved. It's a small country, but it's a rich country. It wants people in its own country to benefit from India, what India has to offer, and they're not looking at the downside of anything.
UAE is a very progressive country, and let me also first talk about the temple. First, I endorse whatever my co-panelists have mentioned so far. Just to add on a few things, it's also an exhibition and demonstration of the soft power of India. It is also an exhibition to the entire world as to how the people and people connect actually matters on the ground, and how the cultural connect can steer the relationship of two countries forward. It is also a fact that UAE strategically was earlier an oil economy and thereafter they started off shifting towards the tourism economy as well, and looking all the aspects of the growth. And that is what India is also looking forward, and therefore a strategic partnership, and therefore various agreements like SEPA, joining in BRICS, G20, and booming trade, as was mentioned, more than 84.5 billion trade is already there, and hopefully it is going to become 100 billion in 1 or 2 years or so. Let me also mention here that when it comes to the initiatives like Temple, it is also promoting the religious tourism, and it is for every faith, and everyone does visit that. And people who miss the soul, they also see the architectural design from that perspective as well. Like, so many people do visit our Akshardham temple here. And in fact, when you compare the light and sound show of Akshardham temple, it is better than the best of the shows in the world. And people come to see even that also, and the kind of movies which are being shown. So religious tourism is certainly again going to grow. UAE also knows the amount of Indians who go there, and if the Hindu tourism, or shall I say the religious tourism, can be gravitated towards that area, it will certainly be viable economically. And therefore, I think it meets a lot of, shall I say, our common aims as well. Also, now UAE is becoming even more important when we are talking about the India-Middle East economic corridor. Now that also, it may be on a pause button now, but it is certainly, because the interests are such, that it is certainly going to take off. And also, let's not forget that most of the countries who do not have direct trade relations, like Pakistan with India, they also do fair amount of trade with India via Dubai. And the irony of Pakistani people, as you mentioned, and you just talked about, there are many who say that we are buying things from India in double the price because they are coming via UAE. And in case our leaders understand this basic issue, I think if we have trade with India, it is much to the benefit of Pakistan than India itself. So I think slowly and slowly the whole world will realize the importance of these kinds of partnership, these kinds of extension of soft power, both sides, and also so what we call it as people-to-people connect being actually demonstrated on ground with Neat.
You're absolutely right. And Professor Nalapat, General Asthana brings out a very important point, the India-Middle East corridor, something that has also been endorsed by the Americans, and it's being rightly done so. There are powers that want to see more of India in this space than China.
You're absolutely right, Vineet. And if I may point out that this particular corridor will link India to Europe and through the Middle East. It's an amazing concept, and it was thought of during the G20 presidency of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. I would like to say that this particular temple, it's not just tourism specific where the citizens of India are concerned. All over the world, I'm sure people would like to see this temple with its unique architecture, where the steel has not been used, for example. It's a very unique architecture, very beautiful architecture, and as has correctly been said, I think by the ambassador, it is expected to last 1,000 years, if not more. Now, I would only like to point out, this temple reflects the soft power of a common humanity of everybody. The common humanity that is there everywhere, in all of us. Now, you and I have been here, you have lived there, I have visited there, and if I may say so, I've had the privilege of going to several places of worship in the Middle East that are not places of worship of the Hindu faith. But I mean, I went there, and frankly, it's a very majestic experience in many of them. In the same way, I'm sure people of different faiths will feel the same, if I may say so, the same presence of divinity, the same presence of the Almighty, because the Almighty is present in all of us, no matter what denomination we believe in. So I think this temple and this gesture by the UAE, whether Dubai, whether Abu Dhabi, these are some of the most modern, most best equipped cities in the world, including, for example, in the case of Dubai, for example, it is becoming the capital of new technologies such as cryptocurrency. It is becoming a crypto hub globally. In the same way as it became a gold hub in the past, it is now becoming a crypto hub. So the fact is, this reflects the soft power of humanity. And this is the important point. As Ambassador Mukherjee said, Sanatan Dharma is universal. It is not bound by national boundaries. It is not bound by individual faiths. It embraces the whole of humanity that believes in humanity. There are a small section of humanity that believes in inhumanity. Barring that, everyone else is covered by Sanatan Dharma. And I would once again like to congratulate the UAE under the very able leadership of His Highness Al-Nahyan for the way in which he has shown the 21st century spirit, the spirit of moderation, the spirit of tolerance, the spirit of universality that is a bedrock of success of the UAE.
Right. Ambassador Mukherjee, Professor Nalapati, you're absolutely correct. Ambassador Mukherjee, what could this also spell for India when it comes to its partnership with other nations as well?
It certainly demonstrates that we are a reliable and strategic partner for countries that understand and think and behave like us. So under those circumstances, we are actually setting an example by PM going to inaugurate this temple all over to our friends in the Middle East. And we are also perhaps giving a hint to those Western countries where attacks on temples routinely take place, attacks on Hindus take place. Hindus are accused of all kinds of crimes which they have not committed, that in the real land of Islam, if such a beautiful Hindu temple can be built, and if the people of that land and their government can appreciate India's syncretic culture, then perhaps it's a wake-up call to the West to leave all their chips on their shoulder towards a country that was colonized for 180 years, left partitioned and bleeding, and rebuilt itself, and built the magnificent Ayodhya temple after the Supreme Court allowed it, as an example again of India's syncretic culture, that we've done no less and no more than what any other country would have done. And this temple in UAE also demonstrates that we've built it with all the necessary permissions. The people and the government have no problem with this temple, and it will be not just religious tourism, it will attract people from all over the world. I was seeing photographs of that temple. It looks very beautiful, and when on my next trip to UAE, I look forward to going and seeing that temple myself. So I think it also shows India's growing clout in the world. More than anything else, Vineet, it shows that India has arrived. Indians have arrived. India has arrived. Nobody anymore can stop India's inexorable rise to great pasthood. That's what I think.
General Asthana, of course, India is also poised to become one of the greatest and the biggest defense exporters because of the Atmanirbharta push. And I'm sure a number of these countries which have depended on personnel and ammunition, from the West will look to India now.
Certainly. In fact, UAE is looking towards the defense exports, especially the ammunition export, as you rightly mentioned, from India. The Western equipment, defense equipment, as well as the accessories are too costly. The Russia they are actually struggling with the capacity to meet their domestic requirement. And China is not reliable. All the Chinese equipment is not reliable. Bulk of the thing is consumed in Pakistan only, or the countries which are in the debt trap. So India has a very great opportunity there. That's one part of it. Secondly, we have to look at UAE also from a very big investor. It is a small country, but the seventh largest investor in India. And when the president had come in Gujarat, many more MOUs were signed. And one of the common areas which has come out is that because of the accessibility of UAE and the market of UAE, if a food processing is done in India, a fair amount of marketing can be done via Dubai. I recall in United Nations, in all the remote places, a fair amount of food used to come to us from UAE. And that is where perhaps we have to see as to, I mean, between the two countries, we have to actually benefit from the strengths of each other. Also, which I find very interesting and very, shall I say, inspiring from UAE is the way they have controlled their law and order situation. Long back, not very long back, I would say the previous decade, UAE was famous for housing so many dons and things like that. Today, the law and order situation there is absolutely, I would say, is very good. In fact, the way they have cracked down on the criminals is something which is not replicable in many countries. Also, their religious lineage may be different, but the way they have firstly accepted, and secondly, the way they have created infrastructure and facilities for everybody who is coming for tourism there, that is also to be seen. The kind of comforts they create for the tourists, and that also I think we can replicate. And between with the and a fair amount of investment of India is also there in UAE.
Absolutely right, sir. You're absolutely right. So a lot of learnings from each other, and that's exactly why this association and this relationship is growing leaps and bounds.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.